Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. In this video, I want to look at the conjunction of Jupiter and Mars. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button and please subscribe if you haven't already. And just a quick note, today's Sunday, but I'm not having my class tonight. I'm doing bi-weekly classes. So I've already mentioned that several times, but just in case anyone hasn't heard that yet. All right, so next Sunday, there will be a class, and yeah, please just email me if you want to get on the list. I'm asking $15 or $10 if you can't afford that, or if you're, want to be a regular attendee, $10 is fine. And if you have problem paying altogether, as some people do, just let me know and we'll work something out. All right, guys. So what is Jupiter and Mars conjunction? Well, first of all, Jupiter is going to expand the significance of Mars. And Mars is male, aggression, warrior kind of energy, fighting, sexuality, initiation, leadership. It's a very hot planet, very passionate, very sexual, rules Aries and Scorpio. So it's going to carry some of those qualities as well. And Jupiter's going to expand all that. So you can imagine that athletes and tough guys and very arrogant kind of. Mars has a sort of ego similar to the sun, but it's a much more aggressive quality. The sun has a very kind of laid back confidence about it. It's just there. Sometimes it's not laid back, sometimes it is, but Mars really pushes that kind of hot energy, that forward, cocky, male, aggressive, assured. It's sort of like you can almost see this, like some people being like, oh, that's the toxic masculinity right there, when really it's just Mars being Mars, right? Obviously not all Marses are going to behave that way, but some Marses are. And I don't call it toxic masculinity. I think that's just a way to manipulate the society against strong male energy, masculine energy. But in any case, it is very physical. It's expanding that kind of energy, giving it prominence. And what's Mars doing to Jupiter? Well, Jupiter is philosophy, religion, faith, optimism, higher-mindedness, big thinking. And it is what keeps us out of depression. It's our joy. It's not our joy as in like Venus kind of joy, but it's our joy of life, right? It's what keeps us, good spirited, you could say, and having faith that everything's going to work out positive, right? And Mars is going to give that a very hot, passionate edge, right? These people are going to be very passionate in all those things. Their philosophy could become more aggressive, more preachy, more forceful. They might believe in Martian type things, like they might believe in aggression, they might believe in war, they might believe in violence, or at least they might believe in some sort of physicality, like it's important to get up and do your exercises every day. They might be, very aggressively enthusiastic about life and about things, like, oh, let's go, leading the charge, that sort of thing. Yeah. So regardless, you can still have philosophers, but their philosophy might be pointed, like somewhat aggressive in some ways, depending on the sign, obviously, in the house and everything else, right? But let's look at each sign and see how it manifests for different people in different signs. Now, the first person we're going to look at is Angelina Jolie with the Aries combination. And she's got Moon in there. So it's an additional, hold on, I need to bring up it always does this for some reason. I can't see the video of myself, so I'm not sure. Why is it not? There it goes. That's just how I know that it's recording and sharing properly. In any case, the more planets you have in a certain sign, then the more energy is going to be concentrated in that area. So she's very Aries, and she does great in roles that represent that that kind of Aries energy, you know, male, female. Well, it's male, but she's a female, and that's probably kind of part of a big part of her charm, right? Is that she's a female, very beautiful female who can play these kind of you know, Aries kind of roles, where she's like, you know, she's like in what, Tomb Raider or something like that. You know, she plays action roles, right? I'm not the biggest Hollywood buff. I don't really care really, but yeah, and it's conjunct her MC. The Jupiter here, Jupiter conjunct the MC is going to, unless it's like very harshly aspected, it's going to pretty much guarantee a certain level of success. And then obviously, you know, Moon and Mars as well. Moon and Mars are not a great combination. Probably the Jupiter helps, but with such a strong Mars to her Moon, her being a female, it's easy for her to take abuse, right? Jupiter's going to protect that somewhat, but still, I'm sure she does attract overly aggressive men. I have no idea. Like, I'm not making any sort of commentary about Brad Pitt, although I know he is a real life kind of fighter type, because I looked at his chart. So I don't know anything about that, but I do know that she can attract sort of very overtly strong male energy to her. But Jupiter, again, is going to protect it. Jupiter is the protector. But you can see this energy. It plays out quite well with somebody like Angelina Jolie. You can see her, and she'll do well in any sort of action movie where, you know, you need a heroine, badass, you know, woman fighting her way against all these men and winning. Yeah, so Moon is her ascendant lord, so that's going right into the, I mean, ninth quadrant, but pretty close to the MC. So that's her. Venus conjunct ascendant for beauty, right? Saturn's a little further behind, but it's okay. Mars is Mars is ruling the MC and the fifth house, so that's great for entertainment and kids also, right? Well, that's also the North Node and the Neptune. The foreign kids, right? Adopting foreign kids. That's Neptune, North Node and Neptune, Sag, right? And then Jupiter ruling the sixth and the ninth. So definitely, you know, hardworking, competitive. Yeah, and when sixth lord is in the 10th, definitely there's a lot of potential conflict in the public arena, you know, in career, work life, that sort of thing, run-ins with people, butting heads. And ninth lord in the 10th is going to, you know, philosophy, a lot of travel, adventure, but philosophy, religion, that's also going to play out in her public sort of career to some extent. And I know that it gets pretty messy in the whole Hollywood thing with the occultism. So I'm not going to go into that really, but yeah, it's interesting. Also, Jupiter is square Saturn. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, so that's actually not a bad square. Squares to Jupiter generally are okay because Jupiter is such a great benefic. So this probably helps out this Saturn, and Saturn's the eighth lord and seventh and eighth. So you know, that's a benefic for relationships, as well as eighth house issues, you know, death, rebirth, crises, shared resources, longevity. It's going to help out a lot. Right. Yeah, so that's Angelina Jolie. I'm not sure about her ascendant lord in Aries conjunct this Mars in Aries. I mean, Jupiter, yeah. But there's going to be some affliction possibly to her health. Jupiter, let me just check here. Let's see what's going on. It's the wrong thing. Anything out of bounds. Mercury's retro, pretty slow Mercury. outer planets. Moon is not in great shape there. What about Jupiter? Um, Jupiter is considered neutral by this rating. Yeah. Moon is sextile the sun. That's quite good. Receiving support, and then the sun is exalted in Aries, so it's receiving support from the sun. And the sun is vitality. I was just wondering if she's going to have some like health issues or something like that. You know, with the if the Senate Lord is badly damaged, then the person can have like a shorter life or health issues, weakened physicality. But interesting in case. Yeah. North Node in Sag, ruling Jupiter, so that the second half of her life is going to be even more successful than the first, because South Node's in Gemini. Yeah, Mercury's in Gemini, but the Sun is semi-square Venus in the ascendant, and the Sun is her, you know, fame. So there's some tension early on with that. In any case, that's Angelina Jolie. All right, let's move along. All right, Taurus. All right, so who else? All right, let me go back. The other Aries, Mars Jupiter combination conjunctions are Russell Brand, Tobey Maguire, and Melanie Brown. Melanie Brown is another Spice Girl. She hosted the TV show, or she was one of the judges on America's Got Talent. I know because I like that show, because I like watching real talent, right? People, you know, around the world performing. In any case, she was a Spice Girl, but you can kind of feel that with, you know, Russell Brand. He's got this, you know, he's a Gemini, but he's like hyper energetic, right? He's kind of aggressively energetic, right? And then Tobey Maguire obviously plays action roles. Not Batman, Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Yeah. In any case, yeah. All right, so let's move on to Taurus. And we're going with Kim Gordon. Partially because, as always, it's hard to find accurate birth times, but if you don't know who Kim Gordon is, let me enlighten you. Kim Gordon is the lead singer and bassist, and I think one of the original founders of Sonic Youth. Now, Sonic Youth is one of the premier 90s alt-rock bands. They actually preceded Nirvana, and Kurt Cobain was wanting, he basically took a lot from them. He they were sort of like, when Kurt Cobain was creating Nirvana, when he was like aspiring to become like, you know, a great band, he was inspired by Sonic Youth, who were extremely experimental and weird as can be, but awesome at the same time, and not radio friendly, right? I don't think they had one radio hit song, but their music was so original, so unique, so cutting edge, and brilliant in many ways. I mean, I love them. So if you're at all like 90s music and you want to hear the real deal, go listen to Sonic Youth. My favorite album is Goo. So in any case, Kim Gordon. She has the Mars and Jupiter and Taurus, and she's a singer, right? And she's not known for her voice. She's not known for, I mean, she's known for being, a creative, iconic genius of Sonic Youth. She also has the Mercury conjunction in Aries. That's great for any sort of arts or music. Her sun is square the nodes exactly, so that indicate, and that's right on the fifth cusp. And so this fifth house Taurus obviously relating to the voice, it's going to be very important for her, something that she's going to have to do to achieve. And one thing, actually, sorry, this is actually yeah, it's fifth whole sign, but fourth. I wasn't reading the angles correctly. Fourth quadrant. So one of the things about like a planet in the fourth house is that it's very low because it likes to be at home. You know, so they never, even though Sonic Youth is like, you know, considered a great band by music lovers, they never made it like super big. They, like I said, they were never radio friendly, and that has to do with the fourth house. It's going to keep them sort of low to the ground, if you will, almost like a garage band, and they have the garage band feel, right? You know, like I said, music lovers love them, especially fans of 90s music, but they're the sort of fourth house is a bit is sort of like you know, has a garage band kind of authenticity to it. It keeps them out of the limelight, but it keeps them real and authentic, right? So that's interesting, right? You know, not everyone's even heard of Sonic Youth, right? But she has Chiron, and her Chiron is stationary, and it's very close to the ascendant in the first house, and that's pretty amazing as well because, well, it's also in conjunct Pluto in the basically eighth house, but they're weird. Like they are weird. Like go watch some of their music videos. They've made a ton of like music videos, homemade music videos a lot of times. Very experimental guitar sound, but extremely creative. And that's partially because Kim Gordon leads, you know, she's like, well, I don't know who's the official band leader, but she is definitely one of the main influences in Sonic Youth, and she's one of the main singers. They have two singers. She plays bass, but she's, you know, very strong in leading. But stationary Chiron, and Chiron, remember, is that weird, the weird little rock in the sky that has a weird orbit between Saturn and Uranus. Outcast, reject, wounded, science fiction. In its higher expression, it's a healer and teacher, right? But it's weird, right? And it's stationary, so it's powerful, and it's square. It's not exactly okay. So the ascendant is square. Okay, these are to the ascendant. I got it. Yeah. She's also got Uranus on the descendant, so I mean, she's going to be, you know, that Uranus is equally weird, and you know, it's even in a higher octave sort of way, in a bigger way, because Uranus is a really big planet, right? But Uranus is kind of shocking, independent, rebellious, punk rock, right? And so she's going to have that vibe in relationship to other people. And then Neptune conjunct Saturn in Libra, and Moon in Libra in the 10th whole sign house. Yeah, but so Mars is ruling the MC. Sure. Jupiter's bonifying it. Mars is ruling the third quadrant. So, you know, playing an instrument. You also got the Venus and Mercury here. And Jupiter is ruling the 12th and 11th quadrant. And it's not ruling a house here, but this is the third whole sign house. So a lot of creativity, instrumentation, skills of the hands, right? And groups, networks coming in here into the fourth, moving into the fifth, right? Let's say fourth, fifth. This is much more fourth because really coming close to the IC, you know, but yeah, fourth, fifth, but they definitely have that garage band feel. So really interesting. Moon in conjunct Jupiter and Mars. Moon is ruling, Moon is exalted in Taurus, so that's bonifying this conjunction. Is very close by degree, and yeah, Jupiter, Mars is not really doing anything for Moon, but Saturn exalted here is helping out Moon, right? Yeah, so that's Kim Gordon. Second Lord Saturn is exalted in the ninth quadrant, but 10th whole sign house. Right. So very interesting indeed. How's Jupiter? Well, Jupiter, Mars. Yeah, just in general. I mean, I don't know. I think she's probably very well, she's a singer, number one. Yeah, I mean she's leader of the band kind of thing. In any case, let's go to Gemini. Oh, and who else is in Taurus? Mars and Jupiter. JFK, Lenny Kravitz, Stephen Colbert, Dean Martin, and Kim Gordon. Interesting combination. Lenny Kravitz, fellow singer. JFK. Steve Colbert, Dean Martin. Dean Martin was extremely confident, and also like, I think he was like one of those, like he sang, he did comedy, he was just like showman, he did everything, actor. In any case, let's move along. It's going to be more subdued in some signs and more overt in other signs. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to look at Aretha Franklin for this one. All right, Gemini. So Mars, Jupiter, and Gemini. First of all, we'll just talk about this. Extremely expressive, right? She was one of the great female singers of all time. One of the greatest. Not only because her quality of voice, but because she has this strong Gemini quality. She could really express herself in such a profound way, right? I mean, she did Respect, right? I mean, so it wasn't just about singing about love and romance. She was really expressing her true values and her value system, and that's Jupiter, right? And that's Mars in Gemini. Jupiter obviously is not so great in Gemini, as Mars is not so great in Taurus, right? Very stubborn and fixed and bullheaded, right? And then Jupiter in Gemini is great for Gemini and things, but philosophy, religion, higher-mindedness, that's constricted in Gemini, right? Scorpio ascendant, Mars is her ascendant lord. So Mars being her ascendant lord is being bona fide by Jupiter. Jupiter's still Jupiter, even if it's in Gemini, it's still going to help. Mars ruling the sixth, and it's in the eighth. So, I mean, this Mars for Scorpio ascendant is quite aggressive, right? Like Mars is aggressive anyway, but because Mars is the ascendant lord and the sixth lord, right? Aries in the sixth. That's the fighty Mars. I mean, this is my ascendant, I should know. So wherever Mars is for Scorpio ascendant, you can expect that there's going to be intense, arguments, fighting, struggles. It's Scorpio's nature to struggle, right? It's in Gemini, so this Gemini is like, kind of at home to Scorpio because it occupies the eighth house, right? And I've talked about this. It's like, would you say Scorpio doesn't know its own eighth house? Well, if it doesn't know it, then it's like it's ignorant to itself. But if it does know it, then it has to have a harmonious relationship with the eighth house sign, which is Gemini, and it's an inconjunct. But Scorpio's nature is inconjunct, right? So it's at home. It's like a fish is comfortable in water, right? So it's comfortable with water. It's comfortable with its own nature. So it's comfortable with the inconjunct nature. So it's not so bad to have an eighth house influence with an eighth house ascendant, right? In any case, it's very deep, very deep feeling, powerful, penetrating, authentic, raw. And that's what gives Aretha Franklin so much dignity, right? To her like soulfulness, to her music, right? It has a lot to do with this, Mars and Jupiter and Gemini. All right. Mars, obviously, so Jupiter is ruling the second house, okay? Voice, and fifth house, entertainment, right? And we also got a south node, Mercury here. Mercury is not so good in Pisces. It's detriment and debilitated. But it's conjunct south node. And then it's exalted sun in Aries in the fifth. All right. So that's quite good. Saturn and Uranus in the seventh. I'm kind of going all over the place, but her relationships were not so great, because Saturn's good, but Uranus is difficult in any case. Moon in Cancer, that's excellent. Let me just check her sheets here. She's got a few mutual receptions. Saturn and Venus. Right, Saturn, Venus. It's not bad. It's quite good, but it's connecting it to the Uranus. And then Jupiter, Mercury. Right, I didn't even notice that. But that's quite good. That's quite excellent. It's a square, but, and this is fifth house, eighth house. So very powerful, very powerful entertainer and creative type. Grand water trine, very, very deep. So much soul. Right. So that's pretty impressive, pretty amazing. Let's go back. So yeah, so Mars being her ascendant lord, Jupiter is expanding from her voice and entertainment, fifth. So perfect, like for somebody who's like Aretha Franklin, like a legendary soulful singer. Perfect. And we do get that kind of expansion of Martian energy with her, like this aggressive quality, but in a good way, right? It's like she's not wallflower. She's like very passionately, like sparky, kind of, like snappy, like she's not going to take no BS from you if you come at her. That's the Jupiter Mars conjunction, especially in Gemini. Gemini is so vocal, right? She can snap back. All right. Pierce Brosnan, Barbara Streisand, John Wayne Gacy, and Aretha Franklin. So what's interesting is that there's going to be the very negative side expression of this, because it's in Gemini, where Jupiter does not do well. Mars is aggressive, right? So obviously not everyone is going to have that, but it's going, once in a while, you're going to have the very negative expression where it's going to, the Jupiter is our higher mindedness, it's our philosophy, religion, connection to God. And so if that's diminished and weakened, and then Mars gains strength, you can see how somebody might turn into like a psycho killer. But obviously not in all occasions. You got Barbara Streisand, who I bet is very mouthy as well, and Pierce Brosnan, who probably is as well. And Pierce Brosnan is probably one of those toxic masculine types, at least verbally so. You'll see that more with the men. It really comes out with the men. Let's move right along. All right, we'll go to Cancer, and we're going to look up Krishnamurti. Just two. All right, I spelled it wrong. Yeah. Just to get some variety, I like to look at different kinds of people, and he's a great philosopher. I've actually listened to a lot of Krishnamurti because I like listening to very wise people. And one of the things I think is one of my criticisms with a lot of people in the West is that they they think that there can only be one expression of truth, right? They look at the Bible and they're like, this is the word of God. Let's ignore everything else in the world. They should all look at us because we have the only one and only truth, and they're all ignorant. And once they find out the Bible, then they'll be enlightened, and then they'll go to heaven and stuff. It's like, guys, look up, like, go research, go all the teachings, like all of it, right? It's all profound, it's all wise. They're not just, God didn't just have one, that's nonsense. That's religious crap. So sorry to disappoint, but that's religion trying to get control of you. That's the Holy Roman Empire, which co-opted the whole Christian religion. Like, go research, go listen to other people. In any case, Krishnamurti, extremely wise Indian philosopher, right? And Jupiter and Mars in Cancer. So Jupiter's exalted, Mars is debilitated. Okay, so the Jupiter is strong, Mars is weak. So this is not because Jupiter, so like Mars in Cancer on its own can be very aggressive, very sexual, right? But Jupiter here, because it's controlling Mars, is right. It's like babysitting Mars. It's making sure Mars behaves. So this is in the 5th house. So his, teaching is very as a common thing for the 5th house, basic regular teaching. And spiritual practice also is associated with the 5th house. Okay. Let's see, Mars ruling the 3rd, so communicating, speaking. He was a speaker. Very profound speaker. Go listen to him. Mars ruling the MC as well, so career, public image. Jupiter is going to expand and bonify all those things. Jupiter is ruling the 2nd house, so speaking, and the 11th house, so groups, networks, very popular. And also he has Moon and Sag in the 11th house, so very high-minded, very concerned about all of society, and involved in groups and networks. All right. Sun in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus. Just as a side note, Taurus actually makes great teacher. I mean, Sag, Jupiter are the stereotypical teacher, but Taurus, because of its ability to boil things down to its most foundational elements, actually can make great teachers because they can explain things to everyone in ways that everyone understands it, because they're reducing it to its most simple terms. You might think, oh, well, Aries comes before Taurus. They must be even more simple. Now, Aries is more inspirational and fiery. Taurus is more foundational, right? Because Taurus will break things down into polarities. And that's easy to understand. Whereas Taurus is not about understanding. It's about feeling. It's just firing people up. And that's a different thing. That's something very different. You don't need to understand when you're fired up. If you whip the crowd into a frenzy, they might not know one thing about what they're being frenzied about. They're just, it's like, you're appealing to something even more basic than understanding. In Taurus, you're appealing to the most common denominator of understanding. It's still a thought process. In Taurus, it's bypassing the thought process altogether. It's just whipping people into a frenzy, right? And that's good. It's necessary, right? It's all necessary. These are all archetypes of the whole, right? Pluto and Neptune are in Gemini. That's interesting. It's in the 4th house. His communication is very powerful, very imaginative. And then Venus is in Gemini. Yeah. This is just excellent for a teacher. Jupiter in the 5th in general they'll often teach kids, but they can teach, especially if they're older or they're very mature, very wise, then everyone's like a kid to them, So it's kind of like, teaching in general education. Also, Sun opposite Uranus and Scorpio by 3 degrees. That's pretty powerful as well, right? Because Uranus does excellent in Scorpio. Very deep and brilliant kind of awake awareness. It's right opposite of Sun, connecting to Mercury as well. Mercury has an affinity with Uranus as well. So, yeah. especially as he gets older. North Node in Pisces, second house, speaking, Jupiter, exalted. And let me just check here. Let's see, Moon way out of bounds. I mean, that's probably like one of the most out of bounds moons I've seen. So like his ability to push the boundaries. Also, Venus and Mars are also out of bounds, and Jupiter's right on the limit, right on the edge. These are all fast. Saturn and Uranus are retro. Okay, nothing extraordinary. Jupiter and Moon, there's the mutual reception. So his Jupiter is supercharged. But you can see here, so Jupiter and then Moon. Yeah, I didn't even, yeah. So by domicile, right? Not by degree, but mutual reception by domicile. So that's excellent. And then Mercury and Venus. So yeah, actually same as me. And but they're by degree, 28, 28. So that's really strong as well. Let's just go look at that. Moon ruling the 6th in the 5th. So Moon ruling the 6th in the 11th, Jupiter ruling the 11th in the 5th. So, but Moon is ruling most of the 5th. So it's still, obviously you can't have a planet. So yeah, 5th, 6th. Okay. But in any case, so 5th and 11th. So groups, teaching in groups and networks about big ideas. That's going together. And then actually the 5th cusp and 4th cusp. So homeland, home ideas. So like traditional Indian philosophy he taught about, the Vedas, things like that, into the 5th house. Okay. So that's Krishnamurti. Mars and Jupiter in Cancer is, that's going to be great for Jupiterian things. All right. Let's move right along. Okay, so who else has it in Cancer? Halle Berry, Nostradamus, famous psychic predictor, prophet, Fiona Apple, and Ray Charles. So we get quite a mix there. And I actually like Fiona Apple and Ray Charles. Fiona Apple, I read something very endearing about how her dog was sick and she canceled her performances because she needed to take care of her dog. And she wrote a piece about it. And it was very profound, very beautiful. And that has a lot to do with this Jupiter in Cancer, right? This very heartfelt wisdom. I think Ray Charles also is somebody who's very, very deep, very authentic, very soulful. It's that watery quality. I don't really know anything about Halle Berry, to be honest. All right, let's move to Leo. All right. Willem Dafoe. Okay, Willem Dafoe. All right. Leo. Super confident, right? Fame, spotlight, ego, pride. He's a great actor. I knew his niece. She went to my school. It's my claim to fame, as far as Willem Dafoe is concerned, anyway. All right. Mars, Jupiter, right in the 7th, right? So I mean, he really personifies this, in my opinion, because like, look at the kind of roles he plays. Really good bad guy. Another one of these actors who just make a great bad guy, a good bad guy, or a bad good guy, right? That's Mars in the 7th, especially. Jupiter helps it out a lot, but Mars in the 7th is very aggressive. Very difficult for relationships. It's got so much 6th and 7th house. So like hardworking, competitive, a lot of ego right up front, a lot of confidence. Let's see, Mars is ruling the 3rd house, expression. Jupiter is ruling the 2nd, right? Mars is ruling the MC. Jupiter is ruling the 11th house. That's perfect for an actor. The 7th house is very good for that. It's like a secondary 10th house almost, because here's the public, here are personal relationships, which in a way definitely translates to the masses, right? Look at all these blue lines. I mean, this is really powerful. We got Saturn in Scorpio, very heavy Saturn placement, excellent for like playing like a monster bad guy type. And that's translating right to his Mercury in the 6th. So his ability to express that is very strong. Neptune South Node in Gemini in the 5th, trine perfectly. And then we got Pluto and the North Node. So it's the nodes, this Mercury, Saturn, and then Neptune and Pluto. So really interesting. Virgo moon. Yeah, so he's another one who I think would, in real life, he would probably express some of that toxic masculinity. Because Jupiter, again, is expanding the ego. Mars in Leo is, I have Mars in Leo, so I know. It's very dramatic. It's drama kings, I like to call them, because it's like you spark that Mars, it's like they turn into a raging lion, right? And grab your popcorn, pull up a seat. There's going to be a show. There's going to be a performance when Mars gets going in Leo, because they love attention. It's activating the whole Leo thing. It's like, rah! It's just all show, all performance. It's not like as hard hitting as Mars in Aries, not as vindictive or plotting or venomous as Mars in Scorpio, not as deeply trained as Mars in Capricorn, but nothing is more big and showy than Mars in Leo. So great for an actor. Especially in the 7th house. Jupiter is really going to expand on that. And Jupiter's doing, Jupiter does okay in Leo. Just check here. What's going on? Saturn is slow. And check his Saturn. And then Moon and Mercury. So yeah, that's a really nice mutual reception here. 6th and 8th. So that's intense. And Moon and Mercury, so expressing the heart, that's quite good. Very intense, right? And he's super intense, right? Oh, Chiron right in the ascendant. So he's another weird guy, another weirdo, like weirdo in real life. Interesting. I just want to check Saturn. I don't mean that in a bad way. So yeah, his Saturn is very, very slow. 3 days from station. So very powerful, authoritative, leadership. Can definitely play all those roles. And Saturn and there's no real affinity here between Saturn and Mercury, but I still think it's it's helping it out a lot, this trine, and the fact that Saturn is very slow makes it this Saturn do better than it would normally be doing. Which what I mean is that Saturn in Scorpio or Saturn in the 10th or Saturn in the 9th can restrict the career, but it's obviously not in his case. And Chiron in the ascendant. Chiron also for fiction, science fiction, that sort of thing. Excellent. Good. Yeah. So you see that with actors, actresses sometimes, just because they can play different roles, weird roles, unusual roles. Okay. Azalea Banks also has the combination in Leo, and she's extremely cocky, arrogant. I don't mean it in a bad way, but like so full of herself. as she comes off that way. It's like the expansion of that Mars and Leo, Jupiter and Mars and Leo, just ooh, so much ego, right? Billy Bob Thornton, and he does as well. JP Morgan, the famous banker who is super rich, Jeff Beck, and Gary Busey. And Jeff Beck is a guitar player, but we all know Gary Busey's crazy, but like super confident as well. Let's go to Virgo. We're going to James Brown, Godfather of Soul. Is that what he's called? Superbad. Mr. Superbad. All right, he's got it in Virgo. He's also got Neptune in South Node here. And Jupiter is not so good in Virgo. It's in detriment, and so is Neptune. And so James Brown, as successful as he was, also got into a lot of trouble. We know that. But this Jupiter is trine the Sun. So that's quite good. So Jupiter is bonifying the ascendant lord, the Sun. Sun is conjunct Venus in domicile, conjunct the MC. So we know he's going places, right? With this combination, it's like, how could he not? Venus right squared in the middle, 15 degrees Taurus, conjunct the Sun. And Sun is the, Sun is the ascendant lord, Leo ascendant. Super confident. Sun, Moon in Leo. Again, Virgo is you wouldn't think of it, but I think that's where he's getting the funk from. I mean, obviously, like everything is playing a part in that, but there's so much Virgo here. And I was wondering, I was like, Virgo doesn't seem very funky, but I think it's like that contracted quality that Virgo has, that very tight, uptight, combined with everything else. Like he's not uptight, but he has this very strong Virgo, and Jupiter in Virgo. Jupiter is in poor dignity here. Mars is very aggressive. He's very aggressive. He's very confident. Neptune also ruling Pisces in detriment here, but Neptune is great for imagination, creativity. So this is a really, really interesting combination. And James Brown is super interesting as well, right? Getting himself into tons of trouble with the law, with drugs, with, he was, I think quite abusive to other people in his, band. He does have a dignified, Saturn on, this is a very strong Saturn here in Aquarius, conjunct the descendant exact. Right, so his ability to, be, attract very mature people into his life, mature bandmates, long-lasting relationships, very stable. He himself was very unstable, right? Adventurous with Uranus in the 9th house in Aries, Mercury in Aries. So second lord going into the 9th. I think he did bring sort of religion into the fray of his music, gospel. I can't recall, but in any case, with Uranus here, it's not going to be orthodox. It's going to be like, oh, let's do religious music. And then he's like, the preacher's like, oh, you got to do it like this. This is how we do it. And he's like, no, I'm going to do it my way. You just leave me alone. It's my religious music. He's just completely do whatever he wants, and just be like, yeah, it's gospel or whatever. So in any case, yeah, that's interesting. Pluto is square Mercury and Uranus. So I mean, talk about, because this is the 9th house, so like adventures, right? It's super adventurous, and Mercury's ruling the 11th house, so like groups and networks. Second Mercury's control, so like his whatever he said, like things, his expression, his voice, his Uranus is really the funk. I'm gonna go there. Uranus is where the funk, Uranus, Mercury and Uranus in Aries, that's the funk. I mean, come on. Square Pluto in Cancer in the 12th. Yeah. I mean, Virgo definitely helps because it's like, perfectionism and making it really tight. Virgo is all about tightness, when they say like, oh, it's tight, like your music is tight. That's Virgo. So in any case, yeah, but James Brown, and then because Jupiter is in detriment here in Virgo, so it's not going to behave very well. It's going to behave naughty. So he's naughty. Mars is going to definitely, increase the naughtiness with this combination. But you can see so much in the second house that's influencing his voice. It's giving him a very unique, powerful voice, but not a very, it wasn't a refined voice. It was like screaming and aggressive and funky. Okay. So let's look at that. All right. So who else has Virgo? Jupiter conjunct Mars. Zoe Deschanel, that silly girl actor. Yoko Ono, who everyone loves. Christina Ricci, who everyone loves, not being sarcastically. Nina Simone, another singer who everyone loves. And Joan Rivers, who everyone loves. And James Brown, who everyone loves. So everyone apparently loves Jupiter, Mars, and Virgo. I'm being sarcastic, partially yes, partially no. But in any case, yeah, interesting combinations of people. Definitely troublemakers, badasses, and sometimes just bad, as in the case of Yoko Ono. Musically, in any case, and probably not. I don't know. Like, I don't know. She gets a bad rap. She gets a bad reputation. I'll just say that. I don't know her that well, so we're gonna leave some room for doubt because I hate to just go along with things just because everyone else does. That's kind of my thing. Like, I really sometimes it happens when I'm unconscious, but I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know that that's true. And yeah, everyone says it is, but have I done my own research? No. So let's go to Libra. All right, Libra, we're going to pull up J.D. Rockefeller. I know it's in here. What's weird is that they have the totally wrong date, not even the right year, or right date, or right time, or right anything, not even the right place of birth for John D. Rockefeller. That was in this program comes preloaded with a bunch of celebrity charts. And they have John D. Rockefeller's completely wrong in every detail. Like every single thing on here, every single aspect is wrong, like by a lot, not even close. So I don't know where they got their information from, but it was wrong, completely wrong. And I verified it on more than one place. So yeah. All right, this is John D. Rockefeller. He founded Standard Oil Company, and he became the richest man in the world, right? Even considered the richest man in history if you translate for adjusted for inflation. Although I have to put a disclaimer there, the people who are truly the richest in the world are not even on the list. They're just like, scrub us from the list. Because they're super, they can do whatever they want. They can buy, they can rewrite history. That's how rich they are, right? And they can write themselves off the books. Anyway, in any case, so Libra, Mars is in detriment in Libra. So Mars is not very strong here. Mars is his ascendant lord in the 6th house. So that's really interesting, but it's conjunct Jupiter, which is also interesting. So that's interesting. So it's like both very competitive, but Libra. So he's like, he's going to be a little shifty there because Mars in Libra is a little, it's Mars is not able to act in its authentic way in Libra because it's not direct in Libra. It's too people pleasing. So this is passive aggressive, right? And there's so many famous Libran, like been noticing, like every combination, there's just like tons of Libras. Why? Because Libra just, it's the premier sign for making your way in the world of people, right? If you have Libra, it's like, yeah, you can bet you're gonna schmooze and give back rubs and pour drinks for everyone you meet, and they're all gonna, you're just gonna do well for yourself in this modern world, right? Um, that's a big part of it. If you can, know the right people, sell them yourself, you schmooze and flirt and talk your way into whatever, then you're going to do well. If you can sell, selling is a huge part of becoming successful in life. Selling yourself, selling your products, selling your ideas, right? You have to sell yourself. And so Libras sell themselves. So they're kind of prostitutes in that way. I had to say it, but no offense to Libras. All right. It's just, that's the nature of the archetype. It's the people archetype, it's the relationship archetype, the main one. So anyway, in the sixth house is very hardworking, very business oriented. So Mars ruling the ascendant, and Mars is ruling the eighth house. Eighth and the sixth is not bad, right? Because malefic in the malefic house, so it tends to do better. And eighth also for oil, we got Saturn and Sag here. He was a big, the railways. He owned a big, I don't know, like he made deals with the railways, so transportation was also very important to him. But Saturn in the eighth a lot of times does have to do with, or can do with, oil, right? Underground things, mines, so oil wells, coal mines, gold mines, steel mines. Well, there are no steel mines, iron mines, right? Just mines in general, underground things. Right? Mars conjunct Jupiter, so Jupiter is going to bonify the eighth house and the ascendant in the sixth house, so hardworking. Fourth house for brick and mortar, building, gathering, homeland, land in general, owning land, right? Being very influential politically because representing the home. Yeah. So let's see, Jupiter is ruling the ninth. So long distance travel, railways, moon in Gemini, so short distance travel, so travel, obviously. 12th, foreign things. Also, J.D. Rockefeller was, it's got a super nice trine between Sun and Uranus, so brilliant and original. But also he, after he reached a certain point with his monopoly, the government split up Standard Oil into a bunch of different groups because he owned like 90% of all the oil in America. Like, can you imagine that? One guy owning almost all the oil in America. And became insanely rich. They broke it up, and then he went into medicine and he founded modern medicine. Like he pushed out all the natural healers, all the natural medicine, and started making pharmaceuticals from petroleum products. And he bought up all the schools and all the education, and he created our for-product modern pharmaceutical industry that preys on the public and does not really concern itself with health, just with it's a sick care system. It's not healthcare, it's sick care, right? You keep people alive but keep them shelling out cash. It's malefic, it's predatory. That's the word I was looking for. It's highly predatory. John D. Rockefeller is solely responsible for that. He created, and anything that's sort of like natural medicine that's not profitable, they consider quackery, and you can't do it. Like you can do it, but you can't make any money out of it. You can't say you're a doctor. You can't charge for it. Like there's all these systems in place. Like if you go for your education to be a doctor, you have to fall in line or you will not have a career in medicine. I know personally somebody who's like seriously had to go up against the university system, trying to be a doctor, and he was like advocating for different. I'm not going to go into details, but he was advocating for different things, and he got into serious trouble. Almost got stripped of his whole education. Finally went through, but he's on a tight leash and severely restricted because of that. Like, you just have to follow protocol, and we saw that with the whole stupidemic. That all the doctors, they couldn't practice what they thought was best. They had to follow protocol, which is just nonsense. It's like poison, and you can't give them the real medicine. You got to give them the fake medicine, and whole shebang stuff that I won't go into. But all right, so Mars and Jupiter in Libra is going to be pretty. It's going to be underhanded. I don't mean to be. If you have this, I don't mean to say that it can't behave well, but there's a tendency to to be too Libran about your aggressive quality. So it's like aggressive, but wanting to people please and schmooze. So there's sort of like kind of evokes like a hidden agenda. Jupiter will be very like big and generous, and it could be quite successful, I imagine, but yeah, it's not going to express itself fully as the Mars Jupiter, the way it will in other signs, but still probably quite good for the houses that Mars rules. Excuse me. But I would say generally heavy dose of passive aggressiveness. Moon way out of bounds, right? Definitely pushing the boundaries, doing things other people won't do. Check Uranus. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it for JD Rockefeller, richest guy in, well, at least on the books. So Venus is not good. Venus is in Virgo. It's very picky, stingy, perfectionist. Venus is ruling the second house. So that's super interesting, right? How do you make so much money if the second lord, being the fifth, is not even in good dignity? Well, Moon and Mercury are in mutual reception. That's interesting. I'm not going to take a deep dive into that, but probably Saturn in the 8th, right? Owning the resources of the resources. And Saturn ruling the 11th and 12th, North Node in Pisces, 12th, foreign. He wasn't really foreign, so I'm not sure about Pisces here. Pisces is, yeah, I'm not sure. Pisces does relate to, it is trying the 8th house cusp. Pisces is the ocean, so I wonder if there's some correlation there. Yeah, trine in any case. 11th house definitely for Saturn ruling it so Saturn in the 8th. Interesting. And probably because he wasn't very scrupulous, this Venus in Virgo is okay because it's in poor dignity. It's in 0 degrees. That's powerful in itself, right? Planets in poor dignity. I mean, if you want to talk like somebody who's like taking instead of giving, then you can sort of make sense of that. In any case, it's worthy of a longer study than I'm willing to give it here. But let's move right along. All right. So, okay. So Freddie Mercury. So this is Libra, besides JD Rockefeller. Freddie Mercury, Winston Churchill, Liz Green, who's an astrologer, JD Rockefeller, Owen Wilson, Fran Drescher, and Tommy Lee Jones. And there was actually a lot more that I just didn't want to keep writing down names. So definitely Libra does well. I don't want to disparage it, too much. It's being passive aggressive is certainly useful in modern society. All right, let's go to Scorpio. Jeremy Renner. That's what we're going to use. And so he's kind of a badass. He plays a lot of action hero type stuff. He's like, was it Hawkeye or not Hawkeye? He's the bow and arrow guy in the Avengers. You can tell I'm like super knowledgeable about these things. But yeah, so Mars and Scorpio, Jupiter and Scorpio in the 8th house. Like, come on. I mean, this is like Mars is the ascendant lord. Another with Chiron on the ascendant. So I think Chiron on the ascendant can be good actors. I'm going to say that. Good creative people, because Chiron's weird, lends itself to fiction, science fiction. Mars ruling the ascendant, Mars ruling the 8th house. 8th house for that depth, for the power, for that scorpionic energy, the vitality, sexuality, right? So he fits this role very well. He can play action roles. Jupiter's expanding that a lot. Jupiter and Scorpio can be on its own, can be very cultic, because now the belief system, the religion, the philosophy is going into the deep areas. So, all the deep occultism type stuff. But he's very sexual. I mean, like 8th lord in the 8th house is going to keep its secrets to itself, right? Even if you're seeing that kind of power, it's still keeping a secret to itself. So it's like, I don't think he's fake. Like, I think if you were in private with him, he would be even more intense than he is in the movies, right? Powerful, sexual, deep, intense. Yeah. His Venus is conjunct Neptune, so that definitely lends itself to acting. Even though it's in the 9th house, it's still Venus is 7th lord. So also relationship-wise, probably not. He probably has tons of women, because Venus is conjunct Neptune. Neptune is, expanding boundaries, dissolving boundaries, I should say. So there's no boundaries, plus Uranus, so he's kind of, freaky. And Pluto, possessive, controlling, manipulative, sexual, psychological. Yeah. Sun in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so this is a good, yeah, you still have to look at exaltation, right? Like, so like, if Sun's in Capricorn, okay, well, where's Saturn? But where's Mars? So Saturn's in the 2nd, Moon's in Gemini, Sun, Saturn trine. This is excellent, because Saturn is bonifying the Sun in the 10th in Capricorn. So, and then, so let's see. Jupiter's ruling the 12th for acting, and then 9th. That's excellent, right? So clearly, Moon opposite Neptune, that's for acting, definitely going to be very good. This guy can play action roles. He can play very powerful, right, physical roles, aggressive, masculine. And if you get to know him, he probably is going to be like the male chauvinist type. I don't mean like, he probably has a sensitive side. I mean, Venus and Neptune and Sag, but he's also going to be very, very masculine, very aggressive, right? Jupiter and Mars is going to bring out the kind of cockiness. And you might keep it to a secret. Like, you might not see it until you really get to know him, but it's going to be there. But powerful, right? Women probably love him. Just being honest. All right, so Scorpio, we have Susan Sarandon, Jeremy Renner, and Mary J. Blige. Edvard Munch, the painter who did the Scream, iconic. Ron Paul and Daryl Hall. So interesting combination of people. Not, yeah, definitely less. What's so interesting is that there's, in all these combinations, there's so many Libra archetypes of each one, and so few of the other ones, even ones that you'd think there'd be more of. Like Libra, if you have strong Libra energy, you're gonna do well successfully in the world. That's, I mean, for all its, for all the things that we can criticize Libra being fake, superficial, people pleasing, they do so well for themselves, right? So it's really not a hindrance. I mean, they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank. Criticize them all you want. They do well, extremely well. All right. Sagittarius. We're going with Kendall Jenner. She's a Kendall. Now I don't, I'm not like a Kardashian fanboy. I have not even watched one episode. In fact, I think they're pretty, culturally, I think they're pretty repulsive, even though I try and respect everyone on an individual level. I do not appreciate that kind of culture, but she's done extremely well for herself. She's actually the most paid model right now, alive, right? The highest paid model right now, alive. So what's that about? Well, she has the Uranus Neptune archetype in that's square the nodes. So this is very important for her. And that's in the 10th house. So just 10th house career being something creative and exotic in Capricorn. So interesting. All right. Mars is her ascendant lord, and Mars and Sag, Mars and Jupiter and Sag. So Jupiter doing very well in Sagittarius. Right, domicile, 9th lord, 12th lord. So she could be, besides being a model, she could do like, well, anything involving, I was going to say acting, but anything involving camera, film, photography, where it's like putting up an image, right? Putting up a false image. Excellent, right? Yeah, ascendant lord. And so like in Pisces, right? Sorry, MC lord. Career in Mirage. She has a career in Mirage. She has a career in fantasy. Also Neptune, right? So that's perfect for what she's doing. So Jupiter is bonifying the ascendant lord, also the 8th lord, and Sun here is in the 8th. And so again, sexual, right? Scorpio Sun, Pluto and Scorpio, Mars conjunct Jupiter and Sag. It's very, very, very powerful sexuality. Jupiter is bonifying this Mars, expanding that sexuality. For a woman with Mars, they just have really sharp looks. When Mars is really prominent in a woman's chart, it creates very sharp looks. They might not feel very feminine, but it's great for sort of like, modeling and fashion and keeping the body in shape. I mean, I'm sure she's super athletic, right? Jupiter and Mars and Sag in the 9th, very adventurous. She probably is. I mean, because she's so young and so rich and so spoiled, I don't think she's going to be like very high-minded, but she does have that potential because Jupiter is in the 9th in Sag, right? She could be philosophical, religious, high-minded. She might be very intelligent, right? But I mean, it's so easy to become corrupt with money. Money really spoils people. Not much going on here. Saturn's retro. Everything is direct and fast. So, yeah, I mean, she's just kind of a go with the flow kind of person, except for her Saturn, which she likes to be a bit different in her public image. And maybe that's why, she's so normal in every way except for her career, her public image. which is a bit unique. She likes to appear unique and different. But yeah, I mean, she's super successful. I don't know what else I can say about that. Definitely occultic, potentially, because Sun and Pluto and Mars in the ninth, so philosophy, religion, of occultism. Her relationship, she might get some. Okay, so her relationships could be difficult because Chiron is approaching the seventh cusp. So the people she attracts can be chironic, so weird, rejected, wounded. She's gonna like that. And then seventh lord Venus is conjunct Pluto, so obsessive and deeply like powerful, controlling, sexual. Yeah, so her partners can be like weird control freaks that are obsessive about her and potentially even abusive. So just her relationships might not be very good. I'm just saying. But in any case, that is Kendall Jenner. That's Sagittarius. And all right, so who else is in Sagittarius? King Charles. So this especially, I mean, men and women, but it's going to create a very let's see, it's, you know, the Mars and, you know, obviously Jupiter's in domicile, but it's going to really expand the Martian energy. So a lot of like arrogance. And Val Kilmer and Nigella Lawson. I actually wanted to read Nigella Lawson's chart, but no time of birth. In any case, let's go to Capricorn. Walt Disney. Disney. All right. It's Walt Disney. All right. He's got Mars, he's got a whole Capricorn stellium here. Very Capricornian. Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. So it's mixing it up a bit. Obviously, Saturn's in domicile here, but Mars is exalted, right? So it's Mars and Saturn in Capricorn. Jupiter is a bit like overwhelmed by this, but still, Jupiter's Jupiter. Still going to help out in whatever way it can. Not that these need it, but this fourth house, fourth and fifth, are extremely powerful, right? And then Mars ruling the third house, so drawing. So how do you know, like how would, and this is not definitive, but like third house could be writing, right? Could also be expression. So how would we know that, like, why would he be turned to drawing instead of, because skills of the hands, why would he be turned to drawing instead of writing? Possibly because, let's see, Mars, the third lord, is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is so grounded. Capricorn is very earthy, right? It's not airy, right? If Mars was in, you know, an air sign, then it might be writing, might be more intellectual. Or if it was in a water sign, well, the third lord isn't a water sign, then perhaps music. But then Mercury is here too. Mercury is ruling the ascendant in MC, so that doesn't really tell us. That just tells us he's going to go into third house issues. But this Mars, this Capricorn is so heavy, right? And then why cartoons? I was also wondering why cartoons, and I'm looking here and so fast Mercury, really fast Mercury. Okay, fast Mercury. Well, I have a slow Mercury, and I was also drawing. I drew a lot when I was a kid, and my friend who was born one day before me also drew. We would draw things exactly. Like I would draw portraits, and I would try and get it exact as possible. So that's a slow Mercury. So a fast Mercury obviously is not drawing things exactly; he's drawing things cartoonishly. So that's what a fast Mercury does in terms of drawing. So, but it's obviously very successful. In any case, it's sextile the ascendant, and it's the ascendant lord, so that's quite good, right? North node in the second but third whole sign house, right? Sun conjunct Uranus, so very unique, independent, rebellious. Opposite Pluto, so very deep. So there's not a lot of lightness here, actually, right? Which is really interesting that he's portraying something so cartoonish, which has to do with Neptune in Cancer and at 0 degrees in the 10th, as far as like his public image, his career. Something, yeah, it's Neptune in Cancer, right, as a career. But also then Mercury. So there, but the thing is that there's actually a lot of darkness with Walt Disney that is kind of beneath the surface. It's hidden. It's scorpionic, right? Even today, there are more people, more children abducted from Disneyland or Disney World than anywhere else. There's a lot of phallic sexual imagery in the cartoons. Why? Like, why are they so disgusting? Like, why are they so like? But he was deep into like occultism and like the Masonic stuff, so that's having something to do with it. Mars is square the moon. That's not very good treatment of women, right? It could be quite chauvinistic because such strong Mars and Saturn energy. Mars and Saturn are just like he wasn't like you see his cartoons and you're like, oh, this guy is probably just so nice and so friendly and loves kids and all that. Are you kidding me? He's got Mars and Saturn in Capricorn in the 4th house, so like 4th moving into the 5th. He's a boss. He's a severe like authoritarian. Like, do not challenge him. And I'm sure that I haven't researched him that much, but I'm sure if you like read into like the stories about Walt Disney, super intense, secretive, Mercury and Scorpio in the 3rd house, like North Node in Scorpio. Yeah, I mean, very misleading. Well, and like definitely out to build an empire, right? Tons of Capricornian energy, like really, cartooning was his medium, but his whole thing was like domination, right? And through like any means necessary, like do not like how you cannot go against this guy. He's like too Capricornian with the planets that I mean, not this Jupiter. Let's see, Jupiter's ruling the 7th, so his relationships and the 4th, 7th and the 4th. Okay, so 4th in the 5th, basically 4th in the 4th, 5th. So entertainment also that applies, but at home and like brick and mortar, kind of like building, corporation land, Disneyland, right? Disney World. Yeah. Like JD Rockefeller is very bottom heavy. It's sort of about like owning land, building physical structures, building a kingdom or an empire. North Node in the 2nd, 3rd, South Node 8th, Taurus. So like definitely wealth, resources, secrets, all these things are going to be pretty important to him. Not a super nice guy. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, he's not like this wonderfully nice, kitty friendly dude. I mean, Venus is in Capricorn. They care about money. That's extremely important to Venus and Capricorn. Money and success. Very sharp, very intellectual, very smart, secretive. This Uranus opposite Pluto. That's pretty extremely intense and clever and masterminding. Right. So that's Walt Disney. Like, he's no kitty hero. I wouldn't leave my kid with him for a second. Nope. Arrogant, cocky, male chauvinistic, powerful, dominating, controlling. So that's in Capricorn. Very, very intense. And so who else has in Capricorn? Katy Perry. She's probably yeah, I mean, she's nothing to be. She's no. I wouldn't want to mess with her. Edgar Casey, who was actually a mystic and extremely evolved, but a sleeping mystic, but powerful no less. Ozzy Osbourne, right? And then Marlene Dietrich. And she's, yeah, don't know much about her, but Ozzy Osbourne, also pretty intense dude. All right. And dark Ozzy Osbourne. All right. I'm actually going to pause it for 1 second. All right. Back. Okay. So that was Capricorn. All right, let's go to Aquarius. Steve Irwin. Ah, now you see. I mean, okay, first of all, who doesn't love Steve Irwin? I mean, such a great guy, such a gift to humanity and animal lovers everywhere. I mean, we're huge Aquarius stellium and then Pisces, right? So this is not a pure representation of this, but I wanted to do it anyway. Saturn, Mercury, Mars, South Node, Jupiter, all in Aquarius, and then Sun, Chiron, and Venus in Pisces. Exalted Venus for that unconditional love, right? Fourth house for his homeland of Australia, you know, loving the land, nature lover, right? Unconditionally. And the Chiron here, he loves you no matter what, no matter how weird you are, no matter how weird of an animal you are, he loves you. Venus also ruling the sixth house, sixth cusp, so little animals. The fourth, homeland. All right, so an Aquarius, right? Aquarius really personifies his whole personality. It's just like quirky, weird, unique, independent, very high-minded. And the Mars and Jupiter, I think, are really present in his personality because you see like just how adventurous he is. Mars and Jupiter both lend themselves to physicality. They're both fiery planets. Mars ruling Aries, Jupiter ruling Sag. They're both very intense. Mars is very physical, but Jupiter certainly doesn't prohibit the physicality. In fact, it often lends itself to great physicality. So Jupiter conjunct Mars can definitely, as we've seen a lot of times, expand the physical qualities, expand the physical nature of these things, right? Second and third house, we're talking about here. So voice and communication, expression, and then homeland, obviously. Venus opposite Pluto. That's wow, that's dangerous for one. Pluto conjunct the MC in the ninth house, in Virgo. So Virgo also relating to small animals, caring for others, service to others. Moon in Virgo. Moon in the 10th, so a career out of caring, right? There's nobody who loved animals more than Steve Irwin. I mean, it's just like, well, at least as far as, I mean, there are plenty of animal lovers. I mean, let's be honest. But I mean, as far as like a TV personality, career wise, I mean, he just crazy. And then the Pluto really sticks out too, because like the things he did were so dangerous. We're so plutonic, right? Like the crocodile lover, crocodile hunter, you know. And he, you know, loved them unconditionally, no matter how dangerous or deadly it was, right? Swimming with the, you know, the thing that killed him, which you wouldn't expect after all the dangerous things, which was the stingray, but they're deadly. If they get you in the heart like they did, I mean, that's it. North Node in the 8th house in Leo, right? So that's also, and Uranus here. Yeah, I mean, eighth house definitely represents something very deep and dangerous, raw, authentic, powerful, animalistic. Yeah, so you know, with the North Node, Uranus, and then Pluto, it's very dangerous, very edgy. Right? Saturn is ruling his ascendant, and it's in good condition. I just want to check what's going on here. All right, nothing. Mercury's quite slow. Quite slow. I wonder how slow this Neptune is. I'm gonna check. I mean, how close to station? 7 days. Okay. So Mercury's very slow. Mercury's in Aquarius. Let me check one more time. Yeah, sorry. Venus and Saturn, the strongest planets. So yeah, Jupiter is ruling the fourth, although the third whole sign house, and the 12th whole sign. And then Mars ruling the 12th cusp and the 5th. So yeah, entertainment, movies, cinema, and what else did I say? Fourth, right? Homeland. Land in general, homeland. So super interesting. He definitely embodies that Jupiter, Mars, and Aquarius. Great sense of humor, lively, Aquarian, quirky, unique. Yeah, really. Who doesn't love Steve Irwin? Very lovable character. And that's also because he's got this, Venus in Pisces, Chiron and Sun in Pisces in conjunct the MC. Or I see. But in the third whole sign house. So it's still relating to communication, short distance travel, things like that. But also, not long distance travel as well. Running around. All right, so who else has an Aquarius? John Bon Jovi, Pharrell Williams, very apparent Pharrell Williams because he's a weirdo. I mean, no, in a good way, I guess, And Hugh Hefner. I mean, definitely for the male chauvinist type thing, we combine that, that aspect of Jupiter, and it's probably going to be different house, aspected differently. Yeah, but Aquarius, for as far as like relationships and sexuality, notoriously does not care about traditional relationships. So, Hugh Hefner sleeping around, open sexuality, that's very Aquarian. Let's wrap this up with the last sign, and we're gonna go to Billie Holiday. I can't remember her nickname, but Lady Sings the Blues, we'll call her that. Yeah, Billie Holiday. I mean, look at the second house stellium in Pisces, with again Venus in Pisces, always singing about just how much she loves her man, even though he beats her and takes all her money and leaves her and sleeps around. I mean, it's it's melancholic, it's deep, it's powerful, it's soulful, it's potent, it's sad, it's like appeals to like this quality of, I think, that we can all relate to on some level, even if we've grown out of that. We don't allow that kind of behavior. Perhaps once we did, when we were young and we fell in love and we let people take advantage of us. That's the kind of feeling I get when I listen to her. Venus exalted, Jupiter domicile, and then Mars, and then also Chiron and Mercury. Mercury's debilitated, right, and in detriment. And then of course the exalted Sun in the third house in Aries. So she's still, she's a go, and she's got a Capricorn moon. Oh, but this Capricorn moon in the 12th house, eek. I mean, no wonder she turned to drugs, because this is like Capricorn moon, very difficult to get in touch with their emotions anyway, for them to express them. But in the 12th house, it's hidden. So like she really needs to be alone, and then even still, it's like Capricorn. So yeah, I mean, it's like then she got Uranus in Aquarius with an Aquarius ascendant, it's extremely independent, rebellious. But definitely for singing about the blues and expressing yourself, fantastic. Right. Let's see. Saturn's in Gemini, and it's conjunct Pluto. Pluto is out of sign, but it's very destructive, right? Saturn conjunct Pluto is super serious. It's fifth house, so entertainment, right? Expression, the blues, Pluto and Cancer. Blues is kind of evokes a water, watery. I mean, even though she was like jazz singer, she was a jazz singer. It was still like crossover into like the blues kind of sentiment, right? Because her songs were so sad and they were bluesy. I don't know how musically they classify, like, if they actually consider her to be blues, but she sang the blues apparently, and she said so herself. But yeah. Let's see. Saturn, that's a trine to the north node. Moon is trine or sextile Mars. So Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so that's quite good for her expression. 12th house, creativity. Neptune in Cancer, pretty close to the 7th house cusp. Sun ruling the 7th. All right, let's look at, all right. Mars is ruling the 3rd and the MC, okay? So career. And Jupiter is ruling the 2nd, voice, and the 11th, so career success. So great, great for money, great for career success. Even though I think she had a lot of hardships in probably a lot of areas. Neptune in the 7th is well, it's actually in the 6th, but it's close to the 7th. So I think she's going to get a lot of people who take advantage of her, especially because, yeah, well, South Node's here, so there's very easy connection to relationships, in Leo, and fame, being on stage, but Neptune and Cancer. So yeah, I think she can get a lot of people take advantage of her. What else? Pisces is notorious for turning to drugs and alcohol, right? That's one of the downfalls of Pisces. It is such a boundarylessness sign, boundaryless sign that it just dissolves, and it could be either extremely mystical, psychic, intuitive, creative, potentially, or it can turn to drugs and alcohol and really never come out of that. So that's kind of the downfall. And second house also does deal with consumption. So even if you're injecting, it's still like what you're putting into your body. So yeah. Moon, there is an opposition to Neptune. It's a little wide, but it's still there. And so that also, drugs, alcohol, deception, lies, deceit, in relationships. Right, that's so good. Romance, super important to her because she's espousing her moon and her ascendant. So moon's out of bounds. So very extreme emotionality. It is both restricted and intense. But all her planets are fast moving except for Neptune, which, let me check Neptune. See how close it is to station. Oh, yeah, it's pretty much stationary. It should say stationary. That's super fascinating. her creativity, and in Cancer, no less, the sign of the heart, the emotions. Really fascinating that it's in contrast to this very hidden moon, 12th house Capricorn moon. So the contrast, drama, opposites, polarity, really intense opposites create great creativity, storytelling, imagination, fantasy, illusion, delusion, that sort of thing. Anytime the arts have drama or contrasting polarity, it makes it so much more fascinating. All right. Mercury is square Saturn, but it's also bonifying Saturn here. So interesting, conflict, romance, and then, with Mercury in Pisces, again, she can be taken advantage of because Mercury in Pisces is not very logical. It's not very strong. Mercury is ruling the fifth. So in romance, in entertainment, she can have, and in eighth house matter, shared resources, people could steal from her. Okay, so that's Billie Holiday. That's Mars and Jupiter in Pisces. It's not as obvious because it's kind of she has these other planets here, but Mars and Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter obviously is, so Jupiter's ruling the second. I already did this, and 11. So there is going to be a certain amount of confidence and Martian aggression. Obviously, she has to be confident enough in her abilities to pursue a career in singing, because it's not an easy thing to do. So it's boosting sort of confidence and aggressive quality. And you can see this also with other people who have the Pisces combination. It's more obvious with the men. So just check this out. Phil Collins, who was dominating the airwaves in the 80s, dominating the radio, super confident character. And like, if you look at every single album cover, it's like Phil Collins' face in, different positions. He's just like, the ego, right? The Mars is extremely expanded by this very strong Jupiter, right? Andrew Tate is a really good example of this, because again, Jupiter is expanded, Jupiter's in domicile, and Mars is expanded. Andrew Tate's a fighter, right? And a media personality, and he just embodies like the male chauvinistic attitude. Actually, he's actually really smart in many ways, and I agree with a lot of his perceptions of things because he's seeing beneath the veil, but he also has a very strong male dominant chauvinistic kind of attitude that's also a turnoff. So I don't agree with everything he says, but I do agree with some things he says, right? But he really embodies this Jupiter Mars kind of conjunction in Pisces, just this expanded, even towards the delusional side of things. Even though Jupiter is in domicile in Pisces, Pisces is so expansive. So the Mars can really get expanded in this combination. And then who else had this? Giacomo Casanova. Casanova, the tales of Casanova, he was a ladies' man, right? So a similar kind of thing. This male, overly expanded male Martian energy that just like wins, dominating over women. Andrew Tate has the same thing. And then I think Phil Collins probably did also, but Billie Holiday, because she was a woman, it was the expansive, her Mars energy was expanded, but that would translate into kind of like a love for men, right? She's all about men, all about relationships, all about male relationships. So that's how it, differs in, for men and women, or at least heterosexual women, right? And heterosexual men. But yeah. Super interesting. That is Jupiter conjunct Mars. Expanding the Martian energy is what it is. And Martianizing the Jupiterian energy. All right, guys. That is it for this Jupiter-Mars conjunction video. I hope you like it. Please hit the like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know that I should keep making these videos. and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. And join me on my class January 14th. That's next Sunday, not this Sunday. And book a reading with me. My website is macroastrology at Yahoo, macroastrology.com. Sorry, macroastrology.com. I was mixing my email and my website. And my website is macrogoldmachine at yahoo.com. That's it for now. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you again soon. All right, bye.